What is up, BookTube? It is Monty, and this is kind of a wrap-up, kind of a TBR, kind of like, I don't know. It's a kind of a catch-all video because I feel like the last couple of things I've put out have been singular reviews, which are great if you want to know what I thought about The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, or Better Together. But outside of that, I feel like we haven't had general content where someone can like hop in and hop out. So that's what we're going to do. So first things first, I wanted to, because I still need to, I haven't made this graphic yet, but our February Choices book club pick is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. Just in case you haven't read this, we follow our main character, Sam, at her first, Penny. We follow Penny at her first year of college. She meets the boy Sam. They're not the most likable people, but they will forever be. I love them. This does have a trigger warning for sexual assault. Penny is a survivor. We talk about that a little bit in this book from what I remember, but that's what the February pick is. And I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now because the winner is winning by a landslide. Over my community tab in December or like early January, I was like, hey, suggest some books by authors of color. I got 3 suggestions, so those are the 3 that got put in the poll later on in January, towards the end of the month, and I let it run into the beginning of February. And I was like, here's what y'all put. Y'all need to help me pick. And so our March pick is going to be Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. This was a pretty buzzed about title last year, so hopefully by now library holds aren't as bad, or now that you might have some time, because again, we don't talk about the book until the end of March, so the live show for Grown will be at the end of the month, so you have all month to read it in case the wait is a little bit long. We won't talk about it until the end of March, maybe even like that first weekend in April. Just a heads up. As for the April Choices pick, if you are a patron, I'm thinking I'm gonna have a post over there where I ask both of you, because right now there's only 2 people over there, but if you want to go ahead and join, there's always a link to that down below. Asking them for picks. And so that'll be announced later on at some other point, maybe in my February wrap up if I'm on it. But with those kind of announcements out of the way, we're going to move on into the January wrap up portion of this video. And so the book that I started off the year with, and definitely my favorite book that I read in the month of January, and that was Vagabonds, and I did not look up how to pronounce this author's name. I am a terrible booktuber. So we're going to... Let me go look this up. One moment. I'll be back. So I read Vagabonds by Hao Jing Fong. This was the first book, like I was saying earlier, and I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It's a sci-fi novel, but if you're going into this expecting like spacecraft and wars, that's not what this really is. It's definitely more of a... I think it's definitely sci-fi. Like, there are definitely advanced technologies, but we follow there's a group of characters. We have our main character whose name is Liu Ying, and Liu Ying was part of a group of Martians that came to Earth because Earth and Mars they had a war a little bit in the past. Tensions were, inflamed, and so the Liu Ying was part of this delegation to kind of just like bring, I don't want to say peace, but to ease the tension between the 2 planets. There's some revelations about that exchange that occur over the course of this novel. We also get perspectives from just other Martians, and we, in the first part, because it's divided in, I think, 3 parts, in the first part, we also get a perspective of one of the Terran delegates who was on Mars, and it's really interesting. A lot of reviews have kind of likened this to like the Mars is supposed to represent the People's Republic of China, and Earth is supposed to like represent, capitalism, the epitome of the United States just run amok and overflowing. I definitely could understand you wanting to go there with this one. Could have been the intent of the author. I just really appreciated it. I personally think I don't know if it's, I want to say, I want to call that shallow if that was the intent, because I do like, you could make those arguments. I don't think that there's really any stretching going on, but I do think that I enjoyed it for more than that. So this already was a strong start off to the year, and kind of just went downhill after this, which is a little sad, but I do recommend it. It's a pretty long, it's just over 600, no, it's just under 600 pages. It stops on page 600. So it kind of straddles that border between like a big book and like not really a big book. But if you are interested in sci-fi that's not super invested in like you having to imagine these spacecrafts and a bunch of wars, then I think this is might be for you. It kind of definitely has that more literary quality, even like that historical fiction quality, even though this again is set in the distant future. But again, 5 out of 5 stars. Can't remember making this more enough, and I'm very happy that that impulse purchase worked out for me. Doesn't always, but I appreciate it when it does. The next book that I read in the month of January was The Perfect Escape by Suzanne Park. This was a gift. I didn't put the gift receipt in the copy, but I do remember this was a gift last year for my birthday. So I appreciate I appreciate it. This is the story. Who are our main characters? This one, Nate and Kate. Oh, that's ugly. I probably thought that when I was reading the book. We have Nate, who is he works at an escape room. It's kind of his jam. He's super intelligent. He's going to this special charter school on a scholarship. And then you have Kate, who is the daughter of a like Bill Gates, Elon Musk-esque individual. And it's kind of a love story. I was a little bit uncomfortable with it because Nate is 16 and Kate is a whole adult. Again, she's only 18, so it's not like a crazy, unrealistic age gap, but I don't know. It was like, I think I gave this 3 stars. I can't remember. Overall, this just didn't work for me. I wasn't impressed. This is kind of the most recent book by Sourcebooks Fire that hasn't clicked for me, and so I just kind of think that they don't really publish content books that I click with, and that's fine. Other people really enjoy this kind of a story. It might be for you. It didn't work for me. I wasn't impressed with some of the events that played out in that one. Then I read Better Together by Christine Riccio. I'll leave a cover thing up over here and a link to my reading vlog of that up in the cards. Again, I felt that this book dealt with a lot of heavy issues, a lot of heavy topics, particularly about gaslighting your own children, and just horrible parenting. Just like they were just horrible parents. And I felt that the story did not address those issues that are just inherent to the premise that Christine chose to retell. Like, the bulk of that reading video is me asking, can we retell The Parent Trap today in 2021 and not interrogate the parents, actually interrogate the parents? Like, I don't know if you can make The Parent Trap also a romance, because I felt that the romance in Better Together kind of took the front seat. It also had like this weird magic glamour situation that they're trying to compare to Freaky Friday, but it's not Freaky Friday. In Freaky Friday, you swap consciousnesses, right? So like Lindsay Lohan's consciousness her consciousness is in the body of Jamie Curtis. I watched the Framing Britney Spears documentary on Hulu. I think that's why Jamie Lynn is in my head. But that's not what happens in Better Together. I think that the Freaky Friday comparison is completely inaccurate. And again, I don't think that that book adequately addresses the just horrible gaslighting those parents do, the general shittiness of like, even like the father. Like, in my reading vlog, I was very kind to that man, but he was also just a horrible person who was like out here using his 6-year-old as a weapon against his wife. It was just disgusting. And then to make it like, oh, this fun, playful rom-com situation, even though it did have Filipino rep and it did have like sapphic representation. I don't know if those are actually, I don't know if those communities are happy with how that was portrayed, and I'm not going to find out until June. So I'm very much going to be keeping an eye out for other people's thoughts and opinions on Better Together, because I think that in a lot of ways, while it was better than Again But Better, it was also just worse. I don't know, but that's what I read next. I think I gave it 2 stars. I can't remember on Goodreads what I did, but I don't recommend it. I do remember that very clearly. In that video, I tell you people, do not, I say you people, I tell my audience, anyone who's watching that, to not purchase that book. If you really want to read it, get it from your library. But I don't think that's a book you need to rush out and buy. Next, I read Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. This used to be my favorite book of all time. I'm having a sort of internal struggle with if this is still my favorite or if Ace of Spades coming out later this year might have knocked this off, but this was just as fun the second time around as it was the first time that I read it. I didn't read the arc again. I did pick up one of my finished copies, and so that was nice. There were little subtle differences, but overall, I still love Pablo. My issues with Leanna remain the same, and I think they might have been magnified the second time around. Like, I don't think that she was really a character the way that Pablo was a character, and that was kind of upsetting, and I kind of wish that she could have been. I think that the opportunity to make her a well-rounded character was there, but you know, it is what it is. At this point, the book's been out for 2 weeks. It's going on like 2 years now, so there's nothing that's going to change about that. But I still recommend this one. I still love this, and I do think this is a fun place to start with Mary if you aren't looking for a romance. If you go into this expecting a romance, you're going to be deeply disappointed, because that is not what this is. This is the story of a flawed individual being forced to confront the things that he has been running away from, ironically by choosing to run away from all of the things that he is not wanting to confront. So it's really masterful. I really love it. Again, it's not for everybody. There are also discussions of sexual assault in this one, amongst a bunch of other. I think that's the only like actual like trigger. I don't know though, but I know that's a discussion that happens here. Then I read the worst book that I've ever read in my entire life, and that was The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is a 700-page monstrosity. I will forever be upset that I spent money on this. I don't understand why anybody loves this book the way that people seem to love this book. It seems to be incredibly misplaced in my opinion. So I have a review of this already linked up in the cards for you. It's short, sweet, to the point. Go watch it. Then I read A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. This seemed to be very divisive last year. I remember everybody was really excited to read this one, and then it came out and everybody hated it. And I was like, you know what? The sequel to this one, or the companion, A Chorus Rises, the cover, I just love it. I think it's my favorite cover of 2021. There's a lot of Black authors that have books coming out this year with just stunning covers. Like, the Blacks won the cover game this year. I think that A Chorus Rises might be my favorite. I don't know. But because I knew it was a companion to this one, I would have to read this. And this is my favorite color scheme. This is, you know, it got that blue and that light blue and bright yellow, much like a lot of the other things on my favorite shelf. But I don't see how people hated this one. I think that what I got last year was everyone saying, oh, they're not really sirens. It's just like a bunch of metaphors for sirens, or it's not about like being a siren. It's about being Black, and it's like, are there metaphors here? Yes. But I think this is still unapologetically a urban fantasy. Like, I don't know what people were expecting from an urban fantasy. I think that by far and away, this might be my favorite urban fantasy, because a lot of times in urban fantasy, the racial dynamics are just completely ignored, and they are just like not factored into how the world works, which seems like such an odd decision to me. I comment on it a lot in a lot of my Shadowhunters content. So if you're over in the Shadowhunter content playlist, that's a recurring thing I bring up, because it's so odd to me to take themes of like white supremacy and apply them to fucking fairies, but we know we have Mexican American characters. We have, or no, Christina's not Mexican American. She's from Mexico. She's just chilling in Los Angeles. You have black characters in the world, and so for this one, for the siren to just be another intersection of the identity and how it added to their already oppressed state just by being a black woman, and then the added layer of siren on top of that, I thought that was really well done, and I really appreciated the commentary that it brought to the story. I thought that made sense to me. I thought that it was very clearly a fantasy. There was like whole ass gargoyles. There's a reveal in the third act that was kind of like off the rails for me. Like, I do think the book kind of went off the rails at the end, but it was just on a, I loved it. I loved every second of it. I'm still very much looking forward to A Chorus Rises. I don't know what y'all were hating about this book, because I loved it. It's clearly not for everybody, but it's quickly become my personal favorite urban fantasy, and Bethany deserves all of the flowers. And then last month, my Patreons picked A Well-Behaved Woman by Therese Ann Fowler for me to read and do an exclusive reading vlog. So if you want to know my thoughts on this that are like in-depth in the moment, you can, again, Patreon is linked down below. But I didn't love this. I hated it, actually. I went into this expecting to give it 5 stars. I started this actually last year. I picked it up the same time that I picked up City of Girls, early in the year, like before the pandemic, like maybe it was in January. And I was so excited because I read the first page and I was instantly drawn in. I think in an old reading sprint, like if you go really far back in the reading sprint playlist and you look at like some of the earlier ones from last year, I think I read a couple of pages of this on that stream. And I hated it. I found that a lot of the book was just Alva. Is that her name? Alva? I kept mispronouncing it in the, yeah, Alva. I kept calling her Alma in my reading vlog, which, terrible, but it is what it is. She was just like building houses for most of the book. Just most of the book she was building houses. Then she was kind of, I think this was supposed to like correct Alva's place in history, because after this generation of the Vanderbilts, they kind of just fade. Like, this takes place post-Civil War and it ends around like 1910-ish, like 1910 being very generous. So like this is kind of like the peak of the Vanderbilts, and after this it kind of like all goes downhill. And in what little research I did, a lot of that seemed to be placed, a lot of the blame seemed to be placed on Alva, and how she was encouraging the building of all of these houses that the Vanderbilts really just never lived in. And so it just kind of became this thing of like them trying to one-up each other, and then they never really lived in them. And so they just kind of spent all of their money and they became penniless and broke. And now Anderson Cooper's on CNN with a regular daytime job. So like, I guess if like that was the goal, like, okay, I understand why Alva was building these houses, but also like it was just boring. And I feel like this book did more of a disservice to her, because I think that if I just read her Wikipedia page, I would find her to be a more compelling figure. I would find her to be a more, just interesting individual. And this kind of made her seem very one-dimensional, even though she was set out at the onset to be a character that I probably would root for more than other people. So again, I kind of went out on a low note, but then just because we're here and I already read it, we're going to talk about it really briefly. I picked up The Great Hunt for the first week of February, which brings us to the current times. And again, this was an improvement. I have a whole hour-long discussion, essentially, about why I don't know if improving is good enough, and just my other real-time thoughts about this one. So I'll leave that also linked in the cards. Hopefully Editing Monty is watching. Not editing. After I've uploaded this, hopefully I watched this through, so I know everything I need to link. But didn't work for me. Didn't work for me at all. I have no plans to continue. The only reason that I read this installment after saying I was never reading another Robert Jordan was because Aaron sent this to me, and it was here, and I said, okay, I will read it because it is here, but I do not own the third one. It is checked out from my library. That is the universe telling me to get off this goddamn train, and I'm going to listen to the universe. I don't need the universe mad at me. So I don't recommend The Wheel of Time. I don't see why everyone loves it so much. I do think that it is a waste of your money. These are these are paperbacks, but they are still very expensive paperbacks. You would be far better purchasing yourself literally anything. Buy yourself a fun snack that you don't usually buy and just enjoy that, because you will not enjoy The Great Hunt, and The Eye of the World is not good. It's terrible. And you have to get through that before you can even get to The Great Hunt. So that's where that is. As for the rest of the month, I should have grabbed this, but it's still up on my shelves. I will be reading Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse, because that was the book voted by my patrons for their exclusive vlog. So you'll see that in my February wrap up. It also means that I will finally have read a Busy Bee Book Club book the month that it is the Busy Bee Book Club pick. And so I will actually get to participate in a Busy Bee Book Club discussion. Looking forward to that. I will try and remember to leave that linked down below, but if nothing else, I'll just add Aaron. And I'm sure you can find the Busy Bee stuff linked over there. Algonquin Press, is that the actual? I think it's just Algonquin. They sent me a copy of Let's Get Back to the Party by Zach Salih. I should have Googled. I'm a terrible person. They sent me this copy back in January. I am part of the blog tour situation. Don't ask me. So my review of this is supposed to go up on the 12th. So I need to read this. This is an adult literary novel about a man in Washington, D.C. reconnecting with somebody, a childhood friend. It's supposed to be a gay story. I don't think it's a romance per se. I think it's just these men reconnecting and about them at this moment in their life. I think that's what this is supposed to be. Again, I haven't read it. I don't know. Hopefully I do enjoy it. Otherwise, that'll be a very awkward video and a very awkward email that I'm going to have to send to Algonquin. But I was looking forward to this, so I'm happy that I was able to get a copy. So between this, Emergency Contact, and Black Sun, like, those are the only 3 for sure books that I need to get to for the rest of this month. Everything else I'm just going to be counting as a win. I am behind in my 12 books in 12 months reading vlog. The good thing is it's a year-long video that I planned, so on that one, hooray. But I'm also like, I don't want to embarrass myself, and I want that video to be a success. So I want to get on that. I want to be able to at least get back up and get back on track. So that's where I'm at. Let me know how your reading year has been going so far, and I will see all of you guys again soon with another video. But until then, and until next time.